With the recent resurgence in noughties fashion, it only seems right to look back at one of the most iconic TV shows to have emerged in this era. The OC was created by Josh Schwartz, running from 2003 to 2007, becoming a pop culture phenomenon almost instantly. Following the lives of affluent teens in Orange County, California, the show placed a spotlight on money, fashion trends, and teen angst alike. The show begins by introducing us to Ryan Atwood, a disadvantaged youth with a criminal record living in Chino. Through a twist in fortune, Ryan meets Sandy Cohen, a public defender, who takes his case on following Ryan's arrest for stealing a car with his older brother. Sandy and his wife Kirsten are subsequently appointed as Ryan's legal guardians, after becoming privy to his tumultuous home life, and Ryan is thrust into the heart of Newport's wealthy community. We follow Ryan as he attempts to adjust to a life with a new family, in a new city, and with a new wealth of opportunities and material goods coming his way. Understandably, his entrance into the upper echelons of society is not always smooth sailing, as he meets characters who range from being a little too welcoming to not welcoming at all. In this video, I will look primarily at the styles of the core four: Ryan, Marissa, Seth, and Summer, as well as the iconic Julie Cooper. Each character had their own distinct style that spoke to the cultural moment, with some outfits that have stood the test of time, and others that are probably best forgotten. In the truly cyclical nature of fashion, many of these trends are already becoming popular again less than 20 years later, as what sells better than nostalgia. From Dior saddlebags to juicy couture tracksuits, the OC offers the best in garish, fun, and downright absurd 2000s trends. I will try to avoid spoilers throughout this video, however I will be mentioning how characters develop across the seasons and how this is reflected in their personal styles. Firstly, let's take a look at our outsider looking in, Ryan Atwood. We are initially introduced to Newport Beach in Orange County through Ryan's eyes. His lens colours our view of the immense wealth that he suddenly finds himself surrounded by, as he struggles to adjust to a world in which privilege is a birthright. To emphasise Ryan's otherness, he maintains a uniform throughout most of the show. His outfits are curated to allow him to express a toughness that stands out amongst the beachy, quintessentially Californian teens that become his peers, and he never really strays from this dress sense. He is rarely found to be wearing anything other than a varying combination of an unbuttoned shirt, a white vest or wife beater, chunky black boots, and a leather jacket. Ryan appears at times as a stereotype of the working class individual. Placing him in a white vest was clearly a conscious choice to align him with the white trash type, to emphasize the magnitude of the gap between his old life in Chino and the life of the Noopsies that he now lives amongst. The term wife beater is thought to have originated from a 1947 case in which a man from Detroit was said to have killed his wife and was subsequently photographed wearing a stained white undershirt. However, no specifics on this case can be found. Others cite Tennessee Williams' play A Streetcar Named Desire as the source for this term, in which Stanley Kowalski, a violent and abusive character, wears a vest of this type too. It has become synonymous with males of a volatile nature, often within a lower income bracket, conjuring up images of anything from laziness to alcoholism to unemployment. Ryan's entrance into Newport society with this as his uniform allows him to be pigeonholed into the angry young man stereotype. This has been seen across literature and film throughout time, with Ryan's criminal record, drunken mother, and absent father making him the archetype for a disadvantaged youth with a chip on his shoulder. When he finds himself uprooted and living amongst the richest California has to offer, he simultaneously resents the poor kid from Chino label, whilst also making no attempt to hide who he is. Though he feels lucky to have been given the opportunity to live differently, he seems to disagree with the inherent privilege that his peers have, particularly those who are mean to him. He is instantly a point of intrigue for the surrounding characters, catching the attention of Newport's most desirable females and being viewed as cooler and more real by Seth. He is highly aware of the difference between himself and Orange County's usual inhabitants, and knows that it could all be taken away in an instant, as he is used to a life of instability. The attention he receives when he arrives in Newport only serves to further other him, and by keeping his uniform vest and army boots on, he presumably feels equipped to return to his old Chino ways if need be. His appearance evokes the image of a wanderer and has a certain timelessness to it when compared to the trend-oriented teens at his new school, perhaps aligning him more with the Beat Generation ideals of rejecting economic materialism and conformity, and less so with the staid, classist ways of the Lukes and Julie Coopers of the world. Even when he wears smarter shirts, he often ends up unbuttoning them to reveal the vest underneath, as though he is determined to make his roots known to those around him, and not to be swallowed up by the wealth that he is surrounded by. We do see him become slightly more comfortable around money as the series continues, though, as he was welcomed in wholeheartedly by the Coens. However, his clothing ultimately suggests an inability or a refusal to settle fully into being a rich kid like Seth or Luke. Next, let's take a look at Seth Cohen, our resident insider yet outsider. Seth was born with the same privilege and opportunities as his peers, with his grandfather effectively owning Newport, and yet he still feels marginalized. His nerdy personality makes him fall victim to bullying in a school run by water polo players with highlighted hair and puka shell necklaces. Seth's individualism comes through in his wardrobe choices, reflecting his indifference to trends and to being part of the zeitgeist. He is vocal about his passion for indie music and comic books, with him finding it hard to meet others that he can relate to at his school full of pod people, as he refers to them. Alexandra Welker, the costume designer for the OC, says that she figured he was the kid that would jump on his skateboard and go to the record store and be searching for some obscure vinyl. Welker believed Sandy, Seth's dad, would be supportive of him being his own man as an only child, and used this to accentuate Seth's individualism in a town full of clones. He often wears slim-fit jeans or corduroys, paired with a casual zip-up, a polo shirt, or a comedic tee. However, that being said, he does have another side to his dress sense too, suggesting an awareness of what is smart and acceptable for Newport functions, and a willingness to wear what is expected of him, as he has evidently grown up doing so. He is often seen in smart casual wear, evoking the impression that he has been dressed by his parents to look presentable and sharp. We see him in argyle or similarly patterned sweaters, polo shirts or smart-fitted knitwear, with the addition of a Tag Heuer watch. He is often seen wearing both Penguin and Paul Frank, highlighting the two sides to his dress sense, as he regularly strikes the midpoint between individualistic teen and smart older guy. The greens, browns, and oranges in the colour palettes often used for him almost give him a dad vibe, which certainly fits his personality, as he doesn't fit in with most of the people from his own generation. On one hand, he looks smart and almost preppy, whereas at other points, his dress sense seems to give off the vibe that he doesn't care too much and just wants to show off his interests and ironic personality. When blended together, we get an Avril Lavigne or Sum 41 type vibe, throwing together a mix of suit ties and Chuck Taylor high tops, being deemed appropriate by Seth to wear anywhere from concerts to high society gatherings. Whilst Ryan's dress sense seems curated to emphasize his roots and economic background, Seth creates looks that pull together his quirks, making his personality his biggest fashion statement. However, despite Seth's constant protestations about living amongst these unoriginal trend-following teens, this doesn't stop him from obsessing over the ultimate, stylish, popular Californian girl, and with that, let's move on to Summer Roberts. Summer arguably has the biggest arc when it comes to fashion, as we see her change from a shallow, materialistic girl to one who cares deeply for the environment and wants to be a catalyst for positive change. When we are first introduced to Summer, she is painted mainly as a figure of desire for Seth, with her regularly wearing the skimpiest clothing possible. We often see her in a bikini, in her underwear, or in classically 2000s tiny clothing, including terry cloth mini dresses and low-rise jeans with crop tops. Even her cotillion dress is more revealing than most of the other girls in her class. As was common in this era of television and filmmaking, we are led to believe that Summer showing off her body is synonymous with her being vapid and promiscuous, ultimately making her the archetypal pod person that Seth is supposed to hate. Are we really that surprised that he made an exception for Summer, though? Though Marissa is deemed the it girl of the OC, it is clear particularly throughout the first season that Summer's dress sense is a lot more calculated than Marissa's, making her, in my opinion, more of a style icon. We see her donning many of the trends that are coming back with the Y2K resurgence, with her always being armed with a designer bag to flaunt her wealth and interest in fashion. There are a number of colour-coordinated looks that we see Summer in, usually in vibrant pinks, oranges and yellows, suggesting pedantic outfit planning on her part and a desire to make her give off the sunniest, most Californian vibes possible on the costume designer's part. Her clothes are designed to make her look summery, which clearly fits her name, and convey the message that she is popular and unattainable for the likes of Seth. Halter tops, silk headscarves, juicy couture tracksuits, and the oh-so-2000s bedazzling of her stomach with rhinestones to accessorize her bikini are just a few of the uber-trendy looks we see Summer sport. Having originally been written as a side character, Summer is an emptier, more stereotypical mean girl in the first episodes of Season 1, and her outfits definitely reflect this. However, as her character was developed in the writing room, we see her outfits change. As she is given more substance, so are her outfits, often in the form of slightly more material. She maintains her stylish nature, but we begin to see her in slightly less revealing clothing and in more earth tones than she initially wore. As her relationship with Seth develops and she is presented less as an object of lust and more as a fleshed-out person, we see her clothing almost mirror and complement his in a way. She is a fan of midi skirts, patterned knitwear, and we see her layering shrugs, cami tops, and super long necklaces to give off a slightly more casual and at times bohemian vibe. In Season 4, as we see her throw herself into environmentalism at university, her dress sense changes even further, and we see her wearing comedic slogan tees that Seth would definitely be proud of. Summer moves away from her materialistic roots and becomes invested in bettering the planet, highlighting a key trait of hers. At the beginning of Season 1, she is a Newport princess through and through, and by Season 4, we see this same passion relocated, as she clearly throws herself wholeheartedly into whatever she does. Whether that's her 3 favourite hobbies in Season 1, tanning, shopping, and celebrity gossip, or her desire to rework her wardrobe until it's entirely made out of hemp, we see Summer's passion and enthusiasm come through in her clothing throughout. Finally, let's take a look at the OC icon herself, Marissa Cooper. Marissa is a polarizing character, but her impact can't be denied, and both Marissa and Misha Barton, who portrayed her, became style icons in their own right. When Ryan arrives in Newport, Marissa is the first person outside of the Cohen family that he meets from the area, with her being a far cry from the people he grew up with. She appears mysterious and alluring and clearly comes from money, whilst also giving off the ultimate laid-back Californian vibes. Marissa's exterior suggests that she is the epitome of privileged and happy, but as the episodes go on, we witness things deteriorate for her in all areas. Things seem to just happen to Marissa, with it often seeming as though she is being swept along by her own life. This is mirrored in her styling on the show, with her simply becoming the it girl without seeming to have to try. It's clear particularly throughout the first season that Marissa's beauty and style are effortless. Her hair is often styled in a tousled, beachy way, at least until they go back to school, and her makeup showcases her tan skin and freckles. Many of her outfits look very casually thrown together, often consisting of a polo shirt or cami with capri pants or a skirt. We rarely see her in heels, and though this may have been a conscious choice so as not to exacerbate the height difference between Misha and Ben playing Ryan, it also serves to add to the impression that Marissa doesn't put too much effort in, but still looks great. Costume designer Alexandra Welker stated that Marissa was the golden girl of the show. I wanted her to seem effortless. One of the fun things about her look, though, is that during the day she'd be in capri pants, Vans, and a cute little midriff top, and then at night she'd come out in some jaw-dropping dress. I think it's important to take a look at Julie Cooper, Marissa's mother here, as Marissa's relationship to her may have informed her dress sense. Julie was originally from Riverside, a fact that she doesn't like to be reminded of, and so actually has more in common with Ryan than she does with the noopsies that make up her social circle. She has had to claw her way up, and much like Ryan, is all too aware of the fact that it could be taken away instantly. Therefore, we see Julie put in a level of effort that Marissa simply doesn't have to. Marissa was born to money, whilst Julie sought money out. We see Julie become the stereotypical rich Newport wife, expecting her needs to be catered for and her bank account to be topped up. She is styled in a way that often appears harsh when held in comparison with her daughter's fresh, youthful look, with her often wearing various shades of red that, along with her hair, almost make her a caricature of a fiery villain. Her own daughter possesses an effortlessness that cannot be replicated by Julie, with her often trying to manipulate Marissa's life in an attempt to live vicariously through her. Marissa resists her mother's involvement, with her laid-back styling in Season 1 potentially being almost a form of rebellion against her. She doesn't want to become the archetypal Newport teen, being bred for a profitable marriage and a life just like her mother's. She challenges Julie on going to cotillion and being coerced to stay in a relationship with Luke, whilst Julie tries to mould her to fit the vision she has for her. However, as Marissa's circumstances change after the first season, so does her fashion. The easy breeziness is knocked out of Marissa as life throws a lot her way, with her constantly being involved in one drama or another. The writers really didn't give her room to be much more than a damsel in distress, and with some of her youthfulness and naivety diminishing, we see her in a slightly more mature and calculated wardrobe. There were multiple overlaps between reality and the OC universe, but the biggest similarity to me seemed to be both Marissa and Misha's meteoric rise, and unfortunately, their subsequent downfall. I would love to do a video solely on Marissa's character and how I personally think the writers failed her, with this being mirrored by how the public failed Misha too, but that's for another time. However, it is impossible to look at Marissa's personal style without acknowledging Misha's role in helping to establish her wardrobe. Alexandra Welker revealed that the designer bags used in the first season of the OC were actually fakes, as their budget wouldn't allow for them to buy the real things. But, as Misha's fame skyrocketed, she gained influence within the fashion world and was able to use her connections to benefit the show. Her it girl status existed both on the show and off, and we see Misha bring some of this newfound confidence in her popularity and power to her role as Marissa. In seasons 2 and 3, we see Marissa become more aware of her reputation as someone stylish and enviable, and her outfits show her stepping into this role more fully. Ultimately, Marissa's beauty is her main power throughout the show, and regardless of whether she is wearing a questionable midi skirt and casual top, or an iconic Chanel prom dress, she is the epitome of what it means to be from the OC. We've finally reached the end of the video, and thank you so much for watching. I know it was quite a long one, but honestly I feel as though I could do an hour-long deep dive into each character individually, so this was me limiting myself. If you made it this far, I'd love to know what your takes are on each character's style, who your favourite character is, and if there are any looks that stood out to you from the show. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe, as I'll have similar content coming out soon. Thanks for watching!
Welcome to the OC, bitch. And this is how it's done in Orange County.